So perhaps you're a beginner with Blender. You've just started using the software, but you really want to make a final product. You want to make a character, for example, and you don't know where to start. So this is going to be a step-by-step simple tutorial where we're going to be making this low poly cat that you can see over here. Very simple topology. We're going to be breaking it down into individual steps. Then we're going to learn how to do a bit of UV unwrapping at a very basic level, and we'll even be doing a little bit of texture painting and then finishing off with a very basic rig that'll allow you to kind of pose your character, and it's all going to be with automatic weighting, so you don't have to do any sort of like weight painting or anything. So if this is something you want to learn, go ahead and watch. Now, if you're an absolute beginner and you know nothing of Blender, I'm going to put a link to 2 of my courses in the description below. They've literally helped millions of absolute beginners. Very popular. If you're an absolute beginner, I'll put them in the description, but this one is for people who are now kind of just getting into Blender. They know the basic interface, but they really just want to make a final kind of character, and that's what this is going to be perfect for. I will be including free resources in the description below. We'll talk about it in a second. And just real quick, if you ever want to take your Blender skills further and you want some high quality courses, you can look in the description below, and you can actually use my link to get 1 month of free Skillshare, all in the description below. And you can even check out, once you do that, some of my courses. They're all Blender at the moment, and they take you step by step from making some really awesome projects, and it comes with all of the files and resources, and it's just really cool. So far I've had hundreds of students and the feedback has been fantastic. So in the description below, and let's get started with this tutorial. So first of all, you're going to be starting off by going into the description below and downloading the free low poly starter file. This is my Gumroad page, and you can just come here, put in $0 and get it for free, download it, and what you're going to be getting is a zip file called low poly cat starter file. So you're going to go ahead and extract that file once you've downloaded it. And inside of there, you're going to open the file, and you're going to see there's a blend file called starter file low poly cat. You're going to just double click on that, and that's going to open it up. And once you have it opened up, you're going to see this is what you have. You have the 2 references. They're already set up in their own collection. If you're really new to collections, it's essentially kind of like layers in Photoshop. It's just a collection or a grouping of objects in your scene, and that gives you the ability to turn it on and off for viewport display or for rendering or for selection. I think you guys kind of get the point. Now this cube over here is the default cube inside of Blender. That's what we're going to be using to model this with, and you can see that is in a collection, just the main collection here. So at any point, if you wanted to get these references out of the way, you can just come here and hide them. That's going to make things very convenient for you as well as your modeling. So to get started with, we're going to make sure we're in our front orthographic view by pressing 1 on our number pad. Now once again, I'm assuming that you at least know some of the very basics of Blender's navigation. So we want to be in our front orthographic. I used 1 on my number pad. You can go to view, you can go to viewport, and then you can go to front that way. So what we're going to do here is we're going to make sure we have our default cube selected. It's already lined up everything over here. So we're going to actually go over into our edit workspace with our cube selected. And inside of here, you can see it. We can select different points like the verts. We can also come here to the edge select option, select the edges. These are some things you should already kind of know if you're new to Blender. It's a very basics. You can also go to the face select up here and then just select individual faces. And holding in shift allows you to keep going and do multiple selections. Now there's a lot of different ways you can do multiple point selections or face selections, but this is just kind of the basic ones we're going to be going with. We're going to keep this as simple as possible. So for now, let's go over to our edge select option over here, or maybe even our vertex. In fact, let's go with our vertex select option over here. We're going to go into our front orthographic by pressing 1 on our number pad. And to be able to select something, if we just clicked and dragged, to left clicked and dragged, you can see here we've just selected these front verts in our front view, but it hasn't selected through to the back. And the reason that is because we need to come over here and toggle on the X-ray. And that way we can drag through and it'll select all the way to the back. Another thing you can do if you don't want to go with the X-ray up here, this little toggle, is you can actually just press Z and then go wireframe. And this is most of the time how I work. So I press Z and then I go into wireframe. And that way, if you click and drag, it'll select all the way through as well, like this. So with that out of the way, in our front orthographic view, we're going to press A to select everything. That'll just select every single thing in edit mode. We're going to go G, so G on our keyboard, and then Z, and we're going to move this up. Let's move it to about the middle of the body here. And then we're going to press S while all of this is active, and S will allow you to scale down. We're going to scale it down about this much. So you can see here where the arms are, the kind of armpits. It's kind of touching here and it's touching here on that side. Then we're going to come here, click and drag, and just select the top verts over here. We're going to go G, and then we're going to go Z to bring them down. And let's place them right under the chin. And let's come over here and grab the bottom ones. So click and drag. We're going to go G, and we're going to go Z and move them up to the armpit. We're then going to go E to extrude and Z, and we're going to extrude this down on the Z to about here. And then we're going to go S, and we're going to scale this like so. And you can see this is what we have. Now from the front, it might be looking okay, but if we press 3 on our number pad to go into our right orthographic view, you can also go View, Viewport, and then you can go to your right. We need to see that we need to adjust it on this side. So what we're going to do, we're going to grab these top verts and we're going to go S, and this time we're going to press Y. So S, Y to scale on the Y axis. And we're going to bring it in like this. You can also just select the verts by dragging over them, and without having to scale, you can just go G and individually move these points. I'm going to grab this here, I'm going to go G, move this one in a bit, trying to keep it as straight as possible, moving this one in, and then clicking and dragging over these 2 verts over here, and then going G and just moving them in. You can see now it's looking much better from the side and from the front. But we need to now start adding more details. So let's come in here, Control R. This is a nice little trick. So Control R, hovering over this edge with your cursor, you're going to see a yellow line appears. What you're going to do is you're going to just left click twice, and it's going to add that in for you. With that now automatically active, as you can see, you're just going to go S and you're going to scale it up a little bit till it matches the reference. Let's go into our right orthographic view by pressing 3, and now let's just grab these and let's move them like this. You can kind of see how we're adding in the details bit by bit from the side and from the front. So we don't want to add too much detail yet. Let's continue. So we're going to go into our front view again, and let's grab these bottom verts. I'm going to go E to extrude and Z. And so you need to just make sure that if you do extrude that they're extruding down on the Z. So you shouldn't be able to move it side to side, only down. So let's bring it to where the legs are over here in the middle. Let's get to our right view and let's go S, Y, and let's scale these 2 in. So they're like that. So you can see this is what we have now. But at this point, we're coming to the legs and these need to split. So what we're going to do, we're going to start mirroring at this point. So we're going to go Control R or Command R on a Mac, and hovering over the middle edge, you're going to see there's a yellow line. Once it appears, you're going to double click on your mouse. So left clicking twice, and now it's added in. And if you've been consistent with this, you shouldn't have like a wonky line like this because we've been extruding down on the Z. It should all be straight. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select, while we're still in wireframe, this side over here. So our left side or the right side of the character. So from our left perspective in the front view, we're going to grab this and we're going to press delete and delete the verts here with the vertice options. So now we only have half the body. And you can see this thing over here, that little orange dot, that's our origin point. And that's where it's going to be mirroring. So if we now go to our modifiers here, we're going to go add modifier, we're going to add in a mirror. And we're going to enable clipping. So when you enable clipping, essentially, if it wasn't enabled, if I move this, you can see this pulls apart. And for now, I'm just going to go Z and I'm going to go into solid. So you can see if I move it, it moves apart. But if I enable clipping, it kind of sticks together like that. And that's what we're looking for. So now what we can do is just temporarily turn off clipping, just quickly. Go to our face select option. And then just select this bottom face over here. So you can't actually grab it on this side anymore because it's just a modifier. So we're only going to be modeling on this one side now. So we're going to select this face over here. And in our front view, we're going to go E to extrude it down, and then S to scale it a little bit. And let's go G to move it, and we're going to move it over to the side. And now we're going to go into our right orthographic view by pressing 3. And over here, it's actually looking okay. So let's continue. We're going to go E to extrude it down, S to scale. Move it in a little bit. Let's go to our front view. In our front view, we can see we need to go S, X and scale it on the X a little bit and then move it in. And let's go E to extrude, move it down again, S to scale, G to move it. Let's go R this time and rotate it a little bit. And I might actually scale it up again just to kind of get it to match here. Back into the right orthographic view. Let's go back to our vertex select option. Let's go into wireframe by pressing Z and going wireframe. Let's grab these two verts over here and go G and move them in. And then let's just grab these bottom verts to make the face. Selected, and let's go E to extrude. Extrude it down. We're in our right orthographic view again. And let's just grab these two and move them in, and the same with this over here. So now we should have this on the side, and in our front orthographic view, we need to correct that. So let's go into wireframe again, and let's just select these two verts, bring them in here, grab these two and bring them in like that. So now you can see it's matching more or less, and that's what we want. But at the moment, this is looking very square. So how are we going to fix that? So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here, hovering over this edge. We're going to go Control R. You're going to see the yellow loop. You're just going to double click by left clicking twice, and it's going to add that in. And then we're going to come over here on the side. We're going to go Control R. And this time we're going to roll our middle mouse button once. So we're going to roll it up while we see the yellow line. It's going to add in 2 segments now. And then we're going to double click and it's going to add that in. So now what we can do is we can go to our edge select option. And we're going to select this edge over here in the corner, and holding in shift, we're going to select the one under it, and so on. We're going to keep going while we hold in shift, like so, holding in shift all the way to about here. Then we're going to go press 7 on our number pad to go to our top view. And once you're in your top view, you're going to go G, and you're just going to move it. So G to move it, you're going to kind of move it in so it rounds this corner out. And then you're going to go click on this edge and holding in shift, select about down to this edge here, go back to your top view by pressing 7, and then go G and move it in like this, okay? And now you can see it's already looking a lot more rounded. But let's also come in here, select this edge over here, and select this edge over here while you're holding in shift. So just these two edges on the inside of the leg. And in your bottom orthographic, so hold in Control and then press 7 on the number pad, or just go Command 7, or you can just go View and then go to your viewport and go to the bottom. And then go G and move this, and then select these edges over here, the ones that are the corner over here of the leg. And then in the bottom again, just go G and move them in like so. And at the moment, this is looking a bit rough, so we're going to press A to select everything. Then we're going to come over here to our Tools panel, click on the Smooth button, and let's just very lightly smooth that out. Just dragging that little gizmo. Now what you can see here, it pulled apart because I forgot to enable clipping. So let's just go Control Z quickly. So Control Z, let's enable clipping, and now let's smooth it out again. So with everything active, we're just smoothing it out lightly, not too heavy. And now you can see we've already made the shape of the cat quite well, the body. So what we're going to do from here is we're going to go back to our Move tool. We're going to go A twice, double press A to deselect everything. And go back to our front view. And now we're going to model the arms. Now at this point, some people might cheat and just add in a cylinder, but we're going to make this part of the body. I think it's a lot better to do that. So let's go into our right orthographic view. And let's press Z, let's go wireframe. And you can see this is our side reference. Now we want to have more topology here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go Control R. You're going to see the yellow line while you hover over here. And you're just going to click once this time. So once, and then you can move your mouse to slide it. We're going to slide it up a bit. And then left click again, and back into wireframe. I'm just trying to see if this will be enough. Let's just go one more time. Control R to add in a loop, double click. So we've added in another one. And now we're going to go to our face select option, and we're just going to go and we're going to select this face over here, and holding in shift, select this face over here, like so. And we're just going to go S to scale those two faces up. Then we're going to go into our front orthographic view. And we're just going to go E, and we're going to extrude it out a little bit. And in our front view, we're going to go R to rotate this face. And then G to move it. And we're going to kind of line that up with our arm over here. Then we're going to go to our vertex select option. We're going to go back into wireframe. Let's select these two verts here where it's sharp. And let's go G and kind of move them up. And let's grab these verts down here and go G and kind of line them up with the corner of the arm here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our face select these two faces. And then in our front view, we're going to go E to extrude and extrude them out, G to move them, R to rotate, maybe scale them a bit by pressing S, then E to extrude again, and then E to extrude again. And this time we're going to go to our vertex select option, and let's just select these verts over here. We're going to go G and move them up, and then grab this one and move that up, and then grab all of these here and then move them like so. And this way you can just make them line up like this. And then in your side view, it's not looking quite right. So what we need to do, we need to go into our right orthographic view. And in our right orthographic view, you can just select these ones that are sticking out. So I'm holding in Shift and selecting these two. I'm going to move them in a bit. And any of these ones that are kind of sticking out, you can always just bring them in a little bit closer to each other, like this. Nothing too major, so just bringing in these stray verts, like that on the arm. Okay, don't worry too much, we just want it roughly in place. And then we're going to go Control R while we hover over this edge, double click again to add in an edge. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go into our front view. And this time we're just going to click and drag and just select these verts at the front like this. And then we're going to go Control plus or Command plus to grow the selection up to about the arm here. Then we're going to go back to our smooth tool. We're going to drag with this gizmo. And then we're going to click on this gizmo and drag and just smooth that out. And now it's looking a lot more rounded out. So now you've modeled the arm on the cat. Let's just go back to our move tool. Let's go to our face select. And then in our top view, let's hold in Shift and just select these faces over here at the top. So these four over here and these four over here. Go to your front view, go into wireframe and then go G and just move it in a little bit. And then go E to extrude up, like so. And then go X and delete those faces like so. And you're not going to actually see that because it's going to be tucked up in the head, but you now have the body of the cat complete and it's looking really cool. So let's tab back out into our object mode. You can just go over here and go object mode once you're done. Right click with this mesh active and then go shade smooth. And now we have some nice smooth shading as well to our cat. So if you've made it this far as a beginner, I hope you're doing well and that your cat body's looking good. Make sure to save. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get into modeling the head using similar techniques and we're going to keep it nice and simple. So what we're going to do now is while we're in our object mode, we're going to go ahead now and go Shift A and we're going to add in another cube. Now keep in mind, right? I'm going to quickly undo that just to explain something, right? If your 3D cursor, see this little cursor here, that little round thing here in the middle, if that's not in the middle, just go Shift S. For example, I'll quickly show you, like it might be off to the side somewhere, like here. If that's the case, you're going to go Shift S and you're going to go cursor to world origin. That's important because we want it to be in the middle, just like our cat. And then we're going to go Shift A and then we're going to make sure to add in a cube. So just keeping that in mind if you're a beginner. We're then going to go G and we're going to go Z and move this up to where the head is. And then we're going to go S and we're going to scale this roughly to about the size of the head. Once again, you can press Z and go to wireframe if this is easier for you. So just about the width of the head. And then we're going to tab into edit mode. And we're going to go, so once again up here, I'm just using the tab key, but you can come up here and go to edit mode this way. We're going to go over here to our vertex select option. Then we're going to click and drag and select the top verts like this. We're going to go G, Z and move them down. And then we're going to grab the bottom ones like this. So we're going to go G, Z and move them up to where the chin is like that. So we have this shape here and they're both kind of touching the sides of the face. You can go S, X with everything selected to kind of adjust that. But what we need to do is we need to go Control R, add a loop in the middle. So you can see the yellow line. Once again, Control R, see the yellow line, double click to add it in. And then we're going to come over here, Control R, double click to add in another edge. Then we're going to go into our right orthographic view by pressing 3 on a number pad. I'm going to select all of this. I'm going to go G, Y and scale it down on the Y till it's roughly the size we want. But then we're going to come here to the front. Let's select these top verts here. We're going to go G, Y and move them back till they touch our reference. I'm going to do the same thing with this one here, G, Y and move it back till it kind of comes near the neck. Grab this one here, G, Y, move that in. Grab this one here, G, Y and move these in. And then we're going to come over here, Control R while we hover over this corner, Control R. I might just go into wireframe to make that easier for you to see. Control R, double click and then go S just to scale it up about this much. And then we're going to come over here, Control R, hovering over this edge, double click. And then in wireframe, let's just select this and go G, Y, move these two verts forward. Do the same with these ones, G, Y, move them forward. Grab this one here, G, Y, move it till it touches the reference. This one as well. You kind of see what we're doing here. So now this shape is lined up. Let's go back to our front orthographic view by pressing 1 on a number pad. In this situation, just select these ones that are too stray, like this. S, X, and scale them in on the X. Grab these bottom ones, all of the bottom ones, S, X, and scale them in this way till they kind of come towards where the neck is. Now over here you can see it's missing some information, so we're going to go Control R to add in an edge here, double click, S to scale. Let's go into our right orthographic view to see if that matches up. It should be okay. So you can see how the shape is starting to form. So let's go back to the front orthographic view and let's go to wireframe. Let's select these verts here. We're going to go G and kind of move this one in here. Now you can see it's not mirroring at this point. So what we're going to do, because we have that perfectly straight middle edge, we're just going to select all of these verts here on the side and go X or delete, either way, and then just delete the verts. Now we only have the half of the head. We're going to go to our modifiers over here under our modifiers tab. We give this a mirror. And just as I mentioned before, we want this to be attached. So we're going to enable clipping, and that way it sticks together. We're now going to come in here, Control R, hovering over this edge, add in an edge, double click. And now you can see over here on the side, we're going to go Control R, hovering over edge, and we're going to roll twice. One, so just roll up your middle mouse button to add in 2 segments like this, double click. And now we've added in those 2 segments, and it's looking okay from the front and the side, but from the top it looks too square. So let's go to our edge select here. Let's select this edge, and then holding in Shift, keep going down, and let's select to about here. And let's go to our smooth tool, and let's grab this gizmo, and let's just smooth it like this. And let's just also come over here and grab this edge, and holding in Shift, select these edges down like so. And then with our gizmo here, let's just drag it, click on it and drag it to smooth it out. And now we're going to press A to select the whole thing. So A to select everything. And then let's just click on this little gizmo and just lightly smooth it out, not too much. So now we've rounded out that shape. Let's go back to our move tool up here. Go to our front view, and you can see more or less it's looking okay now from the front and the side. If you have to, you can go back into your vertex select option, press Z and go to wireframe. And then just come over here to this tool here. This is proportional editing. Just click on it. And if you now click and drag and select some verts, like for example, I'm going to select these ones over here, and you go G to move them, you can see this kind of like this fall off and the rest follows along. What you can do is you can press G to move and then roll your middle mouse button to increase or decrease the influence here. So I'm going to go G, roll my middle mouse button until I only have a little bit of this dragging along like so. So I'm going to move it to about here, and then just click. And then I'm going to just in wireframe select these ones here and just move them like so. And this is an easy way to kind of adjust things once you have it done. And we might come in here where the nose is, go Control R, double click just to add in another bit of geometry, select these verts at the front. Let's go G and roll our middle mouse button down with the proportional editing just to have a little bit of influence and kind of move that forward. Might just come over here and do the same thing at the back with that. So now you can see that's what we have. And from the front, we can do the same thing in wireframe. Just select some verts and go G. Roll the middle mouse button up or down depending on how much influence you want with that proportional editing, and just kind of adjust things. And let's come up here to the top. Select these verts here. I'm just gonna go G and move them like so, so they kind of line up with our reference. So this is what we have like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to disable our proportional editing. And now what we're going to do, now that we have this kind of cat shape established, is we're going to model the ears step by step. Make sure to save as you go. So to model the ears, what we're going to do is we're going to go over to our face select option over here. So go to our face select option. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come over here, kind of looking at it from the top. And you're going to see we have this face over here, not the one in the inside, but the one next to it in the middle here. And then this one over here. So holding in Shift, let's select this one as well. So these 2 faces. And then we're going to go into our front view again. And in our front view, we're going to go E to extrude. We're going to go to about here. And then we're going to go S, and we're just going to scale it like so, about this much. Then we're going to go G, and we're going to move it over here like that. Okay, now it's still not 100%, but let's go into our right orthographic view by pressing 3 on the number pad. Let's go G and just move this forward a little bit like this. Then we're going to go to our vertex select option, and then let's select this little middle vertex here at the back. And in our right orthographic view, we're going to go G. We're going to kind of move that back. We're going to do the same with this one over here. And we're going to grab this one over here. We're going to go G and move that over as well, just like that. And you can go Z, go into wireframe. And then we're going to grab this vertex over here and go G and just kind of move it to where the corner of the ear would be, like that. So you can see just with very simple modeling, we already kind of have that rough shape of the ear established. But what we're going to do is we're going to go back into our front orthographic view. We're going to go Control R, hovering over this edge. You can see the edge is here. We're going to double click to add it in. And then we're going to go S to scale it a little bit. And then we're going to go into wireframe, and let's select these verts down here. We're going to go G, move them down to the corner of the ear over here. And then grab these ones here in the middle and go G and kind of move them more to the middle. And then we're going to grab these verts over here, as you can see. So just in our wireframe, select all of these ones over here. And let's go G and move them in like so. Move them in a little bit. Now you're going to see the more we do that, we're going to kind of get this kind of weird thing because our faces are kind of folding in a little bit. So we're just going to move it to about here, not too much further. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to our face select option here. And we're going to select this face, this face, this face, and this face. So these 4 faces on the inside. And we're going to press I to inset it. So the I key on your keyboard. So I will inset. We're going to go about this much. Then we're going to go into our front view again. Let's go to our vertex select option. And in wireframe, let's just go and select these verts here at the tip. Let's go G and let's move them up like so. So at this point, you can select all of the different verts along the edges and just adjust them ever so slightly just to get them to match up with the reference a little bit better. You can also, if you want, grab these verts over here, the ones that are on the front of the face. So I'm going in and out of wireframe, and then go G and kind of move them till they match up with the inside reference of the ear. So this bit over here, just kind of like inside part. So just grabbing these inside verts, moving them like so, till they kind of all match up. So now we have that. And then we're going to go to our face select option. Again, we're going to select these 4 faces in the inside. And then we're going to go E to extrude and just extrude them in like so. And then we're going to press S just to slightly scale them. And now we have that ear. We're also going to come over here, hovering over this edge, Control R to add in a loop and double click. And it's going to kind of go through the ear, but that's okay because we can do have a bit of extra topology there anyway. And then we're going to come over here, hovering over this edge and go Control R. And it's going to add a loop that runs through the ear like this. Then we're also going to come over here and select this edge over here, and holding and shift select this edge over here. Double G just to slide it, so pressing G twice, and it's going to slide it along the edge like that. And now our ear is more or less looking okay. But what we can do is we can actually come here to our vertex select option. We can press C and we get the selection tool. We're just going to select all of these verts here in the corner like that. And then we're going to once again get our smooth tool, and we're going to just very lightly drag that gizmo just to smooth it out slightly, but not too much. And now we have those low poly ears done. So that was probably the more trickiest part of this tutorial, was modeling the ears. We're now going to tab back out into object mode over here, and we're going to right click and we're going to go shade smooth. And now we have our cat ears done. So it should look pretty okay in the side view and the front view. Now you can actually look here in the side reference that it doesn't quite look exactly like the reference here, but that's okay. Sometimes when I draw references, it's not meant to be like 100% exactly like the reference. We just want a rough placeholder there to show us where the ears need to be. So if your ears, if you want your ears to be a little bit more thicker like the reference, you can come in here, select the verts with the proportional editing and kind of move them back a little bit more if that's what you wanted to do. But it's completely up to you. I wouldn't really go too crazy with that sort of detail. Just kind of get it where you want it to be. That's the main thing, okay? So now we have the front and the side kind of done for the ears. So make sure to save as you go. And just one more thing, let's just go to our top orthographic view by pressing 7 on a number pad. And maybe with the head here, let's just go into our top view and just select these verts over here. And with our proportional editing enabled, let's just go G, roll the middle mouse button, and just kind of bring this in here just to kind of sharpen the nose up a little bit like that. But that's just a fine little detail. You guys can do that however you want, but that's looking pretty good. So what we're going to do now is, while we're in our object mode, and once again our 3D cursor is in the middle, so Shift S, let's just make sure our cursor is to the world origin. We're going to go Shift A and we're going to add in a plane. Might seem like a weird object to make an eye out of, but with that plane selected, we're just going to drag it up So G, Z, or you can just, with your move tool, grab that Z axis arrow there and just grab it and pull it up. Let's move it to about where the eyes should be. And then you're going to tab into edit mode up here. And with all of this active, you can press A to select all of it. You're going to go R, and then you're going to press X, and then you can go 9, 0. So you've rotated it 90 degrees, so R, X, 9, and 0. Let's turn off proportional editing. We don't need it enabled. And you can see we have the little orange dot there in the middle. That's our origin point. That's really good because we're going to be mirroring this. And let's just, with everything selected, let's just go G, Y, and move it forward like so. And then we're going to go into our front orthographic view. We're going to press Z, and we're going to go wireframe. And we're going to go S to scale it down. And then we're going to go G and move it over to the side, over here. Then we're going to go to our modifiers, and we're going to give it a mirror. And now if you press Z and you go solid, you can see we have it mirrored on this side. So if we move it around now, it's mirrored, which is really cool. So now let's just go back into wireframe. And let's select this vertex down here, and let's go G and move it kind of to the corner of the eye. The same with this one over here. Move it to the corner of the eye. And then grab this one and kind of move it to the middle, and grab this one here and move it to the middle. So we have sort of like this shape over here. We're then going to select this vertex and this vertex over here. We're going to go E to extrude, and we're going to extrude it to the end, and we're going to go S to scale down, like so. And then we're going to go Control R, add an edge, double click, S to scale it. And now we're going to do the same thing over here. Control R, you can see the edge, double click, S to scale. And at this point, you can still move the individual verts around as well when you want to. So I'm just going to move this one, I'm going to move this one, and I might grab this one in the corner, move it down a little bit more. We're kind of making like this watermelon seed shape. We're also going to come in here, Control R, maybe add another edge here, double click, grab this over here, S, G to move this vertex, grab this vertex, G to move it. So now that shape is looking like a watermelon seed. We're then going to go hovering over one of these edges, Control R, and you should be able to see the yellow line running across like this. Double click. And we're going to press A just to select all of it. And we're going to go to our smooth tool, and let's just slightly smooth it out, okay? By grabbing that little gizmo and pulling on it. And then what we're going to do is go back to our move tool. And now we have this shape. We're going to go E to extrude. So if everything's selected, we're going to go E to extrude and Y. And we're going to extrude it in like so to give it a bit of thickness. And then we're going to come over here, Control R, hovering over this edge here. You can see the edge, double click to add it in. Then once again, we're going to press A to select everything. And then you can go to your smooth tool, and let's just click on this little gizmo and drag it, and just smooth that all out like so. And let's go back to our move tool. And now let's go back into object mode. Let's right click and go shade smooth. So now we have the eyes. So what we need to do now is go to our top orthographic view, and we can go back into edit mode. And now we can move them in like so. And we're going to go R to rotate them in our top orthographic view. So rotate them like this, and then go G, Y, just move them back till they're sitting in there. And then you can also go to your side view. You can actually really go to any view that you want, any position you can see it better. And then you can just press R and rotate it till it kind of just sits right. So something like this is great. And then you can go back to your front view. You can go into wireframe and scale it up a little bit if you have to, just to match it back up. But that is a very simple low poly kind of stylized eye. And I might actually just get my proportional editing tool and just select this vertex in a corner and go G and just move it into the body a little bit. And might do the same with this one over here, like that. But we're going to keep it really simple. I think we'll just leave it at that for now. So what we're going to do is back in object mode, we're going to select the eye here. And let's just actually get rid of the mirror modifier, because we were just kind of had it there just to see what things are looking like. We're going to get rid of it. And because it's on the same side as we've had the modifier set up for these bits, we're just going to select this bit in object mode and holding in Shift select the head. And then go Control J or Command J, and that's going to join it. So now if we tab into the head, you can see all of this is one kind of like collection of mesh, right? So it's all one object now in object mode. So now, yeah, that just makes things a little bit more organized. What we're going to do is tab back out into object mode, and we can now probably make the nose. So the nose is really simple. Let's just go Shift A. Let's add in a cube. G, Z, move the cube up. S to scale it down, and then go G, Y and move it forward. And then you can just position the nose wherever you want. I'm going to go where the reference kind of places it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to tab into edit mode. And this is really simple. We're just going to simply grab these bottom verts. We're going to go S to scale them on the X. So S, X, and scale them on the X, like so. And then we're going to go A to select all of it, right click and go subdivide. And then with the smooth tool, let's just make sure everything is selected and grab that little gizmo, like so. And maybe scale it up a little bit more. And then once again, we're going to right click and go subdivide one more time. And with the smooth tool, we're just going to go ahead and drag and smooth it out one more time. And that's looking okay. I might just grab all of these top verts, enable proportional editing, and then go S, X, and just kind of scale it out in the X like that. But that's about it. Very simple nose. Let's go back into object mode. Let's right click and go shade smooth. In fact, with this cat nose, we can actually go back into edit mode and go into our right orthographic view. And then just select the back verts here and the side view and then go delete and delete the verts because we don't really need to see those. And you can also at the side, if you want to, you can kind of like grab these verts and adjust them here to make it look more like the reference, but that's all stuff that you can do. It's your own personal taste really when it comes to how you want to do your nose, but I've decided to keep mine really, really simple like this one over here. So, but we now pretty much have the cat done. Let's just quickly model the tail before I forget. The tail is important. So let's just go to our right orthographic view. Let's just go Shift A. Let's add in a cube. Let's go S and scale that cube down. Then go G and move it roughly to where the tail is. Then you're going to tab into edit mode. And you're going to, with this cube selected, you're going to go R to rotate it. So this face over here is facing out the same way as the tail. Then let's go to our face select option. Select this face over here. And let's go S to scale it down and then G to move it to the base of the tail. We're going to go X and delete that face. So it's empty. And let's grab this face over here and in a right view, we're going to go E and we're going to extrude and then G to move, R to rotate. E to extrude, S to scale, R to rotate, and then let's go E again, S to scale, R to rotate, E to extrude, S to scale, R to rotate, and then E to extrude, and then S to scale, and scale that face down. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go Control R, double click, adding in a loop here. In the middle, Control R, double click. Press A to select all of the geometry, and with our smooth tool here, click on a gizmo and just drag it to smooth it out. And now what you can do is go to your right orthographic view again. Just select these verts over here and just bring them into the body a little bit more. And if you have to, you can also select the body. Come in here, Control R to add a bit more topology here. And then you can go ahead and just drag that back a little bit more to kind of match the reference a bit better. And once again, proportional editing is a great tool as well for that sort of thing. But that's something you guys can do in your own time, refining the shape. But this is more or less like the reference is, that's what we want. So that's where I'm gonna keep it, just making sure it looks more or less okay. So now, tab back into object mode, let's select this tail. Let's right click and go shade smooth, and now we have the tail. So our cat is now complete. The modeling is done. So make sure to go Control S to save or Command S. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna just join some of the pieces together. So we're gonna select the head, and because the head and the body are both on the same side and they're being mirrored the same way, we're gonna actually click on the head. We're in object mode still, and we're gonna hold in the Shift key and we're gonna click on the body. And then we're going to press Control J or Command J. And now this is all one object. If we tab into edit mode, you can see these are two meshes, right? We're also going to select this over here, the nose. We're going to go into edit mode. And we're going to go over to our vertex select option. We're going to go into wireframe and just select half of these verts. Go X and delete verts. So now we only have half the nose. And we're going to go ahead and give it the mirror modifier and enable clipping. Tab back out. In fact, we probably didn't even need to give it the modifier since we're just going to join it to this mesh here. So with the nose selected, hold in Shift and select the body of the cat. Go Control J or Command J, and now it's automatically added in there. So I guess I didn't have to do that extra step. But anyway, now we're going to grab this tail over here. I'm going to tab into edit mode. We're going to go to our front orthographic view and we're going to press Z and we're going to go wireframe. And we should be able to select half of these verts over here. We don't want to go all the way to the middle to where this origin point is, just half the verts. And then we can press X and delete verts, and we only have half of it left, like so. I'm going to tab back out, and it should also be on the same side as everything else that is being mirrored. We're going to select the tail and holding in Shift select the cat and go Control J to join it. And now if we tab into edit mode, you can see all of these are all being mirrored. In fact, we can come here now and turn off this one mirror. You can see there's the inside of a cat, and now you can't see the inside of the cat. So that's looking really good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back into object mode and we're going to go into our UV editing workspace. And over here by default, it should actually take you into edit mode. And what you could do at this point, you could just press A to select everything. And you could go U and unwrap, but that's going to be a bit messy. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to do a little bit of adding seams in different places. We're going to go to our edge select option up here. We're going to deselect everything. And now what we're going to do is, because we're only unwrapping half of our cat, so when we paint, it's going to mirror over on the other side. So what we're going to do is we need to think about areas where we want it to unwrap nicely. So we're going to come over here. And if you hold in Shift and Alt and you left click on this loop over here at the bottom of the leg, it's going to select all the way around like this. And if we go Control E, we can actually go down and go mark seam. But what we want to do maybe before we do that, because we don't want to completely disconnect it, is we're going to hold in Shift and just deselect these two over here on the side. And then we're going to go Control E and we're going to go mark seam. So Control E and then mark seam. And then we're going to come up here and we're going to just hold in Shift and we're just going to go around the arm here, like so, all the way, leaving out these two top ones at the top, as you can see there. And then we're going to hold in Shift still. We're going to go all the way along the bottom, starting at where we selected these two lines over here. And we're going to go all the way to the top of the arm here. And we're going to go Control E and we're going to go mark seam like so. So now if we actually select an edge on here and we go Control L or Command L, it's going to select all of the body here. We're going to go U on our keyboard and then unwrap. And you can see now here it's unwrapped it. Now hopefully it's done a good job, but it looks like it didn't like what's going on here with the arm. So what we're going to do with the arm is we're going to go back to our edge select over here and we're just going to continue over here. We're going to hold in Shift and maybe go up a little bit more to about here and go Control E and go mark seam. And then over here, let's grab these two edges here and go Control E and mark seam. So it goes all the way around. And then let's now select the body. So you can just select a single edge and go Control L to select the whole thing. And then once again, go U and then go unwrap. And now you can see that unwrap is looking a lot nicer. So this is just one of those things you have to kind of mess around with till you get it to where you like it. So I'm not really happy with how it's stretching the leg over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our edge select again. And over here where we had these two edges over here, we're just going to select them to fill this red line here. Go Control E or Command E and this is go mark seam. And now it should loop all the way around. So if we select the whole body again by selecting an edge, going Control L, we're going to go U and unwrap. And now we can see that leg unwraps separately. And this is just going to stop unnecessary stretching. That's what we want to kind of look at whenever we're doing this. So now that we have that done, let's come here to the ear. So with the ear, we're going to go to edge select and we're going to hold in Shift and we're going to go all the way around the base here and then go around the ear here at the back, holding in Shift as we go. And then we want to come back so it meets to where we started. So this line should all be one continuous line going all the way around. It should connect. Then holding in Shift, you're going to select this edge, and this edge over here. And you're going to go Control E and you're going to go mark seam. And then what you're going to do is you're going to select an edge on the head, go Control L to select the whole thing. And then you can go U and unwrap, and it should unwrap all of that relatively nicely. Okay, so you shouldn't have too much stretching. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to, the tail should be okay. We don't have to unwrap that. So let's just grab our eye over here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go Shift, Alt, and left click on the middle loop here that goes around the eye, and it should go all the way around. We want to go Control E and we're going to go, let's go mark seam. And that should be it. We shouldn't have to do anything for the nose either. So now we're going to press A to select everything. We're going to go one more time U and we're going to go unwrap. And now we know everything works and there shouldn't be any unnecessary overlap. If there are, just grab the different parts, like for example the eyes here. You can clearly see these are the eyes. Just move them over a little bit, anything that's overlapping with something else, just select a vertex, go Control L to select the whole thing and then move it. So in this case, I'm going to select a vertex over here, Control L to select it, S to scale it down a little bit. We just want to avoid any sort of unnecessary overlap so we don't get any weird kind of glitchy effects when we painting later. So I'm just moving these around, and you can move them however you want. So you can see this is the nose over here, but more or less it's the default unwrap should be more or less in the right place. Okay, so you should have something that looks like this. It doesn't matter if your pieces are not positioned in the same way. It's not going to matter because we're not going to be painting over here. We're going to be painting directly onto the cat. This is just going to be our map. So let's make sure to save. And now what we're going to do is we're also going to go over here where it says new. We're going to click new, and then we're going to come over here to the generator type. We're going to make it UV grid, and then we're going to come over here to the name and call it cat, and then text for texture. Press enter, and with the map size here, let's just go and double it. So if you come over here and you go to the end, you can just type in the little asterisk and then type 2 and then press enter, and it'll multiply it by 2, or you just can type in 2048 if that's easier for you. Whatever you prefer. So 2048 by 2048 and then go OK. And now we have a UV map here. Now if you want to see it on your cat, you need to go over here to your shading workspace. And then you need to click new with this cat selected to create a cat material. So we're going to call it cat. And then over here is just a principled shader. But what you need to do is you need to take the base color here and just drag on the base color and then type in image. And then just click on image texture over here. Now you can go to this little drop down window and you can go and get that cat text, which is the cat texture. And now if you press Z and you make sure you're in the material preview, you can actually see your cat texture. So this kind of shows us that the UV unwrapping is more or less kind of okay. Wherever these squares are looking a little bit bigger, a bit more stretched, it's obviously a bit more stretched. And you can actually go back to your UV editing and you can edit this over here until you're happy with it. But for now, I think this is okay for what I'm trying to do, as long as it's not like a ridiculous amount of stretching. Like if you had a really big square and then a very tiny little one, that would be a problem. And you'd have to think about how you're going to UV unwrap that in the future. But we're ready to go now to the next part, which is going to be doing our texture painting. So let's just actually start by going over to our texture paint window anyway. And also, just real quick, just make sure with this cat text here, you go image, you go save as, and then just save it somewhere in your computer. I'm going to save it, and now it's at least saved. So there we go, and let's jump into the texture painting. Okay, so what we're going to do now, since we do have our cat ready, we have a texture, we have everything UV unwrapped, is we're going to go over to our brush over here. So make sure you have the brush selected. You're also going to go press Z. You're going to make sure you're in the material preview. Or you can just go ahead and stick with solid. By default, it should be showing the texture in the texture paint mode, because if you go over here to this drop down up here in the shading, it should have texture enabled by default. So with that out of the way, what you can do, you can come over here to your active tool properties, you can go down, and over here is your color picker. So if you were to just to paint now, obviously it's going to be white. So what you're going to do is you're going to come here and pick a color that you want. This is going to be your base color. So I'm going to kind of go with like an orangey kind of ginger color. You can do whatever you want. And then we're going to go F to grow the brush. And then you're just going to go left click and you're going to start painting over your cat. So go ahead and do that. That's actually really simple to do. Just go all around. And this part is actually really satisfying because up until this point, we've worked really hard getting to this stage. And now that we're just painting, it's kind of like the fun part. You can sit back, relax, add your own little artistic flair. And I think that's just what you've been waiting for pretty much. Let's be honest, right? Getting to this bit. So now we can come over here at the back. You can paint it. Maybe paint it here at the front. Just, you know, like so. And you only have to paint on one side, obviously, because we're mirroring this. But you get the idea here. So now we have our base color. Now, instead of trying to come here now, like for example, these eyes, right? So I'm going to go now to the black color here. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go drag my slider to the middle. I'm going to make this almost all the way black. Instead of trying to struggle here and paint the eye and you kind of have this bleeding that goes over into there, what you're going to do is just going to come over here to your map and find the eyes over here, and you can actually come here and paint directly onto that. So here you can see, I can see this is where the eyes are, so I'm just going to paint, and now you can see it updates over here, and that makes things a lot easier to do it that way. And the same likewise, we can also go and drag this value up again. Let's get a nice kind of pinkish color. Let's come find the nose bit over here and let's just paint over the nose. And now our nose is also painted. How cool is that? What we can do as well, while we have kind of like a pinkish color, let's make it much lighter. And let's come over here to the strength up here and drag it down a bit. And in our front view, front orthographic, we're gonna come here inside the ear and we're just gonna come and paint in the inside of the ear like this, filling in with that color like so. And then what you're gonna do is you can go over on the outside again and add a little bit more pink. And then you can bring down the strength as much as you want, grow your brush a bit and kind of just shade it a little bit because it has that sort of opacity. And something simple like that looks really cool. You don't have to do too much more. So that's looking pretty cool. And at this point, that's almost pretty much done. But at this point, you could go and add all sorts of details. So I'm gonna go get a gingery color again, but I'm gonna make the value a lot lighter this time, make it less saturated, like this. And then in my front orthographic, and by the way, you don't have to work in the front ortho, that's just what I choose. I'm gonna go here and kind of paint. First of all, drag the strength up back to 1. I'm just gonna come here and paint kind of like this patch on the chest just to make it look even cooler. Just to add a little bit more detail. And then I'm gonna go to the side here and just paint the tip of the tail of the cat as well, just to kind of add a little bit of, you know, an artistic flair like this. So painting the tip of the tail, that looks really cool. And at this point, you could also maybe, I don't know, paint maybe the feet if you wanted to. Go to the side. This is completely up to you. At this point, I really encourage you guys to make this your own design and really bring it to life in a way you like. What I might do as well is just come here to the top of the head and paint a little detail like this. Maybe we can come over here to the side, just paint towards the back like this, bring it together, add some stripes like this, kind of bring it to the side. It's completely up to you how you want to, you know, paint it. I know I've said it before, but it's your thing, make it your own. So I might go with something like that for now and maybe get a light pink, set the strength down a bit. And let's just grow the brush and let's just give him some little rosy cheeks, or her, whatever design you're going for. So something like that. And I think that looks pretty cool. So I'm gonna leave it at that. And what I'm gonna do over here, I'm gonna go to image. I'm gonna make sure to save the texture and also go Control S to save the blend file. And here we have our completed character now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back to our layout and we're gonna come here to our reference for now. We're just gonna turn that off so it's out of the way. And once again, we have our reference collection here, or layer if you will, and we have our main collection here where the cat is. So if we hide that little eye there, you can see it goes on and off. But what we're gonna do is with this main collection selected, we're gonna go Shift A, and we're gonna go down and we're gonna add in an armature and we're gonna add in a single bone. Now the single bone here is actually right in the middle because our 3D cursor was in the middle. And as I've mentioned several times during this tutorial, is that you wanna always make sure that your cursor is in the world origin when we're doing this. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually, so we can see this, instead of having to go through, in fact, let's just go into wireframe for now. There is a way you can make this X-ray, but for now, let's just press Z, go into wireframe. And if you look in your right and front orthographic view, this bone is right in the middle, which is what we want. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna tab into edit mode with this bone active. Okay, so we have this bone active. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab the tip of this bone and we're gonna go G, Z, and we're gonna move this bone down. We're then gonna select this bone. We're gonna go over to the bone properties and we're gonna call it base. It's the main bone that everything else is gonna be connected to or parented to. We're then gonna go Shift D to duplicate and Z, and we're gonna move up a bone to the middle. This bone, we will click on it and we'll go and call it hip. We'll then grab the tip of this bone and we'll go E to extrude and G, and we're gonna move it up. And let's call this one, let's just call it chest or spine, because we could do a chest bone and a spine bone, but for now I think we'll just, in fact, let's do that. Let's grab this bone and move it to the middle. Let's just click on it, let's just call it spine. And then grab the tip again. We're gonna go E to extrude and Z, all the way up to the neck. And let's grab this new bone and perhaps let's just call that one chest. Now, we usually would make a neck bone if our character had a neck. In this case, it doesn't really. So we'll just directly go from the chest bone and go E to extrude and Z, and extrude up another bone. And on this bone, we'll click and we'll call it head. Now make sure not to accidentally click on the bone object data properties and name it over here, because that's the name of the whole system. You want to click on this individual little bone here for the individual bone properties, not the system. So now that we have these bones, let's grab the bottom bone and let's hold in shift and select the main base bone secondly, and then go Control P, and we're going to go keep offset. So now if we were to go up here to edit mode and go to pose mode, and we selected this base bone and we went G to move it, you can see all of these bones move along because this is our parenting hierarchy. So this is our main control bone, or our main bone that we're going to grab if we want to move the whole character. So let's go back into edit mode. And what we're going to do is we're going to select this hip bone and front orthographic view. We're going to go Shift D to duplicate and move it to our right side, which is actually the left side of the character. So keep in mind, it might be your right side, but it's actually the left side of the character. And we're going to be thinking in those terms. So let's grab in the front view this tip and bring it down to here and move this one over here. And in fact, we're going to grab this whole bone and just rotate it upside down. I'm going to place it right over here. And holding in shift, we're going to select the hip and go Control P and I'm going to go keep offset. So we've selected this bone and parented to this bone. And this bone here, we're going to grab and kind of bring it to the middle here and then go E to extrude and extrude it down. So now we have these two bones. And what are you going to do? You're going to grab this one and you're going to call it over here under the bones property, the top one, leg top. And you're going to go dot capital L. Now the dot capital L is super important. It's got to be exactly dot capital L. And then you're going to click on the bottom one here and you're going to go call it leg lower, or just low, whatever you want, dot capital L, and press enter. So leg lower dot capital L. The dot capital L is the most important thing. We're then going to go up to the chest and we're going to go Shift D to duplicate this, and we're going to rotate it so the pointy end is towards the shoulder here. And we're going to move it in here like so. So it's where kind of the middle of the shoulder is here. And let's grab this bone here and kind of move it to the halfway point, like so, and then go E to extrude again and extrude another bone. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab this one and we're going to go and call it arm upper dot capital L. And then we're going to grab this one and we're going to call it arm lower dot capital L. The dot capital L is super important. Select this bone now, this top one, holding in shift, select the chest and go Control P and then go keep offset. So it's parented to the chest bone. So now what we want to do is we actually want to grab this base bone here and we want to go over here to the bone properties and we want to turn off deform, because this bone is only meant to be holding all these other bones so we can move it around. So move the whole system, but it doesn't actually have to affect the individual geometry with our weights distribution. So what we're going to do is, with that one turned off, we're going to grab these bones over here and they should look okay from the side. If they don't look okay from the side, you can always just grab these bones and you can kind of go to the top and you can kind of move them forward a little bit till they're sitting inside of the arm properly. And you can go to your right orthographic view as well and make sure the same thing is up with the legs if you have to move it more forward or back, but in this case it's okay. So in our front view, we're just going to select the arms and the legs, nothing else. Anything that has the .L extension is going to be selected. And we're going to go to armature and we're going to go symmetrize. And if you did the proper .L extension, if you now click on these bits, they should have the same name with the .R, and it's automatically done that for us. So now we have our rig. We're going to now go out into object mode. And keep in mind, this is not ordinarily how I would make a rig. This is a very, very simple rig. In real life, you'd add in all sorts of complicated constraints, IK chains, all sorts of things to make animation practical. In this, or even target bones and things like that. But in this case, we're really keeping it super basic. We're now going to grab our cat. We're going to hold in shift and select our rig, secondly. And we're going to go Control P and we're going to go with automatic weights. And now what that's done, if we actually now select our rig and we go into pose mode and we grab, for example, the head and go R, we can now see we can rotate the head. If we grab the chest bone, we can rotate the top of the chest. Now, one thing that I did forget to do here is to make one for the tail here. So let's quickly just go back into edit mode. Let's just quickly grab our middle spine bone here. Just go into our right orthographic view and go Shift D to duplicate, move it over here, rotate it, and let's just call this one under the bone properties, tail. And let's just extrude it maybe just this many times, okay? Just want to have it 3 segments like this. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go back into object mode. And once again, let's just select the mesh, holding in Shift, select the rig again, and go Control P, and then go with automatic weights. And now if we select the rig again and we go into pose mode, let's have a look. Okay, now we can control that tail as well. So this is a very basic rig here. You can grab the main control, everything should go along, or you can grab these individual controls over here and make the legs move. Another thing you can do is go back into solid view, go over to your object data properties, and then under the viewport display, enable in front. And this way you can see through, even if we go over here to the top and enable under the shading, our texture, we can still see through it. And now you have your cat completed. So this is by no means a fully functioning rig. It's just to teach you the basic idea of how to kind of add a pose to your character. You can see if I move it over here, it didn't paint quite properly here, but you can always go back into the shading workspace and just paint those little patches up. It's not a big deal at all. So make sure to save as you're going. And I'd like to thank you guys for taking the time to watch this beginner's course. Now, this was not an absolute beginner's course, like I stated in the beginning, but it is for beginners, and I hope it has been a help to many of you. So if this has helped you, you can support me by looking in the description below. You can join Skillshare for free for 1 month, or you can also join my Patreon, where you can get access to a lot of my files, my work, and the things I do. And that all helps support this community. There's also a Discord server. So I'll see you guys next time for another tutorial.